Born to a high-class family, I never had to go without. Anything I wanted, I got. Fancy clothes, tasty food, a dazzling reputation, and even the warmth of love. But I knew my family situation was different from the norm. My older sister and I lived in a house in the countryside together, just the two of us.
Okay, are you talking about Eureka, or did you have another sister? Okay, it doesn't sound like it.
Our parents had their own place in the big city where they worked. Maybe other people would see this as a scandalous way to raise your children, but we were all okay with it, so in my view it was perfectly fine. Besides, they gave us a hefty allowance and always made sure to visit us a few times per month when they had time off. I didn't resent them. In fact, I was extremely grateful. After all, thanks to them and their prestigious careers, I lived better than the majority of my peers. But though I appreciated them, my connection with them was tenuous at best, and I had no special memories of them. To me, I guess you could say they felt less like parents and more like benefactors. No surprise there, of course. All the love and discipline a child would normally receive from their parents was instead administered by my sister. She cooked for me. She helped me with my homework. She looked after me. Whenever we shared a dessert, she would always give me the bigger piece. She praised all my smallest accomplishments. She gave me everything I ever wanted. With her around, I didn't miss our parents. My sister was exceptionally gifted. She excelled at everything she tried, and she got top marks in every subject despite seemingly never needing to study.
That is interesting. Like, she is quite the marvel. So much so that everyone always comments on it, like, man, you can cook anything, and you're smart, and... I wonder if that's a clue to anything at all.
Not only that, but she was beautiful, cheerful, and a social butterfly. She always took center stage. She had the ability to succeed without ever putting any real effort in. To me, she was worth her weight in jewels, and I respected her from the bottom of my heart. I wanted to be in her league, so I struggled to be every bit as perfect as she was. Be it schoolwork or sports, I worked hard to ensure I was number one. I was diligent, composed, and perfectly polite. I was a cut above the rest. And my sister seemed to love this about me. She'd always smile and say,
"You're so amazing, Gretel."
And each time I'd tell myself that I was worthy of her. Ah, yes, I carry the same blood in my veins. I was born to an exemplary family, so clearly I must be exemplary too. That was what I told myself. Then, one day, I was strolling down an empty hallway. I had stayed at school later than usual to run an errand for my teacher. I let out a sigh. As a model student, everyone was always turning to me for help. My teachers and classmates were all totally helpless without me. I couldn't stand it. I wasn't completely miserable here at this school, but I was growing tired of it. Ideally, I wanted to attend college with my sister. I wanted to sit in the same classroom with her, listen to the same lectures as her, attend the same events as her, and walk to and from school with her. I knew it was a pipe dream, of course, but it was by no means impossible to achieve. And as long as there was even a tiny chance, I couldn't let go. I wanted nothing more than to go home, eat my sister's cooking, and have her help me with my homework. As I passed by a classroom, however, I caught a whiff of the world's most nauseating scent. Instantly, my good mood was spoiled, and I let out another sigh. One of the other students was smoking a cigarette. He was a notorious delinquent who spent his time running with the wrong crowd instead of attending school. Riff-raff, if you ask me. I didn't want to interact with him, but we had already made eye contact, so I didn't have a choice. Are you even old enough to be smoking those? At my question, he exhaled a cloud of smoke, dropped the cigarette to the floor, and crushed it under his heel. This infuriated me, but I limited myself to just a glare. Not wanting to get involved any further, I hastily packed up my things so I could get away from him. But then I heard him snicker.
I heard you're not really related.
Huh?
Everybody knows it. You were adopted. But they still let you live with your sister unsupervised, huh? A guy and a girl living under the same roof. Bow chicka wow wow.
Instantly, I felt a murderous impulse flare up, but I quickly thought better of it. I couldn't stoop to this idiot's level. I had more self-respect than that, and better things to do with my free time. But I couldn't stop my hands from balling into fists. Then, as I kept my back turned, he said something he really shouldn't have.
Ooh, damn.
I bet you jack off to your sister's naked body every night, don't you? You sick freak.
Before I even knew what I was doing, I had hurled a chair in his direction. Excuse me? Want to say that again? The moment he flinched, I dove at him. We both crashed to the ground, taking some desks with us. Then I climbed on top of him and punched him again and again and again. With each blow, there was a dull thud as the impact made my whole arm tingle.
Stop!
Bleeding profusely from his broken nose, he begged for mercy. But it was too little, too late. I was going to make sure he never made a comment like that ever again.
That's enough!
The next thing I knew, a teacher rushed in and put me in a full Nelson. Meanwhile, the creep who had insulted me and my sister was now crying and bleeding all over the place. How pathetic. Normally, he acted like he was so much better than these authority figures, but now here he was begging for their help. Fortunately, I could still move my feet, so when he reached his hand out, I stomped down on it mercilessly. As his scream echoed through the empty classroom, I thought to myself, serves you right. I'm so terribly sorry. The school contacted not my sister, but my older brother. Since our parents lived out of town, and he was the oldest, he was listed as the primary point of contact. But I didn't like him very much at all. Unlike our parents, he worked locally, and although he didn't live with us, he still occasionally turned up on our doorstep to criticize our lifestyle. And unlike our sweet, thoughtful sister, he was cold and distant with me. Frankly, I found him highly unpleasant to be around. He was a hindrance to my happy life with my sister. He smacked me over the head and told me to apologize to my victim, his parents, and the teachers. He clearly didn't care about my feelings whatsoever. But if my sister were here, she would have asked me why I did what I did, and then she would have stood up for me.
I mean, now getting your side of the story, I can see why you, flew off the handle. Doesn't mean it was good or the right choice that you flew off the handle, but I can understand why.
Suspended for 2 weeks. That was my punishment. But I didn't really object to this decision. While he was the one who started it, I'd clearly let my emotions get the better of me. That much I sorely regretted.
Okay.
If I was going to cross that line, I could have done a lot better.
Oh, dang! I regret that I didn't take advantage. If I was going to lose it, I should have lost it. Oh, Gretel.
I could have made sure no one would find out about it. That way I wouldn't have been punished at all. But alas, it was too late. My only option was to avoid making the same mistake in the future.
Okay, so you don't regret what you did. You regret that you were found out. Got it.
Besides, if I was going to be stuck at home, it would mean more time to spend with my sister. This was a much more efficient use of my time compared to wasting it on those idiots at school, and I couldn't ask for anything more. While I was at home, I could get ahead on all my schoolwork. That'd show them. Suddenly, I was brimming with motivation. But right as I tried to go home to my sister, a demon stepped into my path. I see you're smiling. What's so funny? Nothing. You hurt someone today. You do regret your actions, right? Of course. Look, Gretel. What is it? Gretel, I think you need some time to cool down. Excuse me? What's that supposed to mean? My brother sighed and shook his head. According to him, wailing on an opponent who couldn't fight back was problematic behavior. Personally, I thought skipping school, smoking in the classroom, and sexual harassment were all far more problematic than anything I had done, so I told him that. But my brother stubbornly refused to acknowledge my opinion. He tried to claim that I lacked ethics and morals. Then he tried to take me not to the house where my sister was waiting for me, but some cabin in the woods. He was always like this. He didn't treat me like a little brother. He treated me like a crazy person.
That's the thing. I really want to get Ryoshi's perspective on all this, because the way he's acted has been like, even before they adopted him into the family, Ryoshi's like, look, there's something wrong with this guy, girl. I know you and mom and dad are all like, he's an angel, but nah, not me. I don't know if he just had bad vibes or if there was actually something that happened. So I'd like to get Ryoshi's point of view at some point.
I've already run it past our parents. What about sister? Haven't told her. I already know she'd be against it. Once again, my sister was the only person I could trust. But she wasn't here. The demon grabbed my arm and tried to drag me away. No! Let me go! Let me go! You're coming with me, Gretel. No! I don't want to go!
Gretel!
As I struggled, my sister turned up right in the nick of time. My savior. My holy mother.
Oh boy. Yeah, whoa. That's too much.
Sister! Help me! Please help me! I reached out to her, but the demon ripped us apart. Let me out of here! Let me out, goddammit! The demon locked me up in a stark white room. No matter how much I pounded on or kicked the door, it refused to budge. I want to go home! My sister! She's waiting for me! But no matter how much I screamed, no one came to save me. Stop. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Instead, they forced me out of my street clothes and into a hospital gown, then belted my arms and legs to the bed.
Okay, so they dressed you, so you're dressing your sister and also restraining her. Interesting.
Don't touch me! Sister! Sister! Save me! It was humiliating. Every waking moment was supervised and micromanaged. I'm not crazy! When I tried to protest by refusing to eat my food, I ended up with an IV in my arm. I hate this. Sister! Under the effects of the medicine, I slowly lost the energy to fight or even think. The next day, my parents came to visit. After a long, harsh lecture about violence, they gave me a hug. But I felt nothing. No matter what pretty words they had to offer me, it didn't change the fact that they had consented to me being locked up in here. They had abandoned me. When they asked me if I needed anything, I said I wanted to see my sister. But this wish was not granted. Sister, 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 sister. She was the only person on this earth who truly cared about me. She understood me. She was my only family. And at this rate, it was possible I would never see her again. I wanted to avoid that at any cost. But how could I get home? Eventually, I decided I would pretend to obey them. I swallowed everything they gave me and never disobeyed. Everything I did. All of it was for Sister. I looked down at the pills in my hand and imagined that they were candies from my beloved sister. No matter how disgusting they tasted, I would happily eat a gift from her. After that, sure enough, I was finally allowed to see my sister. But as happy as it made me, I was too lethargic to express my feelings. My sister seemed deeply concerned about me.
Gretel, is there anything you need? Anything I can do for you?
I slowly shook my head. No. Not in particular. As long as she was with me, I didn't need anything else.
Gretel.
I could tell she wanted to console me, to cheer me up.
Don't cry, okay? I'm here for you.
Sister.
I'll protect you, I promise.
Only in my sister's warm embrace did I finally feel at peace. When I returned home, the person who claimed to be my father said the whole family would live together for the time being. When I asked, "What about your job?" he said,
I'll figure something out. You're more important right now. I'm sorry I haven't been around more.
I was so annoyed. He was getting in the way of my peaceful life with my sister. She was my family, not these other people. But if I said that out loud, I'd get thrown right back out of this house, and I couldn't risk that. So instead, I quietly accepted it. I needed to go back to acting like the perfect son. No, I needed to be even more perfect. Besides, I knew my parents would go back to the city sooner or later. They were all talk. If it came down to a choice between me or their jobs, I knew I didn't stand a chance. But I didn't mind. I was fine with it. At least that way things could go back to normal. The only person I needed was my sister. As for my sister, she stayed home with me for the rest of my suspension. When I asked her about college, she simply smiled and said,
I'm staying right here with you.
I was so happy to know that I was her top priority. After spending time apart from her, I made some important discoveries. I realized exactly how much I needed her. And I realized how she saw me. During my suspension, she offered to tutor me, same as usual, but I declined. Truth be told, I wanted her to teach me all kinds of things, but if I let her, we'd end up right back where we were before. And for her sake, I needed to change, bit by bit. She was always kind to me, But if she ever truly lost faith in me, I would lose my place in this family. I would lose everything. So I couldn't just mooch off her kindness. If anything, I needed her to depend on me. Ideally, to the point that she couldn't function without me. I wanted her to need me as badly as I needed her. That way I could ensure that she would never turn against me. That way I would never be abandoned. That way I would never be rejected. But apparently I wasn't the only one who changed. After my 2-week suspension was up, I went to school to find that everyone looked at me differently. All the teachers and classmates who once sung my praises now avoided my gaze and kept me at arm's length. Evidently, I was now on par with that delinquent. How revolting. These people didn't know the first thing about what happened that day. As if these worthless worms could possibly comprehend how I felt. I ate some candy to suppress my anger, then read my textbooks between classes. As I grew calmer, I started to think, maybe I should have acted out a lot sooner. That way I wouldn't have been forced to humor these plebeian creatures all this time.
Oh, hi, Gretel.
Hi, sister. After school, I found my sister waiting for me by the front gates. She stood out like a sore thumb, and I was surprised to see her there.
I thought I'd come get you. Let's go home.
Although she didn't say it directly, I could tell she was worried about me. I cursed myself for troubling her, but deep down I was delighted. Suppressing my feelings, I remained outwardly calm and accepted her proposal. On the way home, she asked me about my day, so I lied and said everything was fine. I didn't tell her, or my parents, how people were treating me at school. I could dress it up by saying I didn't want to worry them, or something. But really, I was just ashamed of it. I would have rather offed myself than admit I was being ostracized. Incidentally, rumor had it that my victim had since become a shut-in. Served him right, as far as I was concerned. But at the same time, I envied him. Unlike me, that piece of trash had real, biological parents who loved him and refused to abandon him no matter what. God, it pissed me off. And every time I had a mood swing, I ate some candy. The more I ate, the more addicted I got. Sure enough, once my parents had decided that things had settled down, they went back to the city. Now the only people left in the house were me, my sister, and my brother. But once my brother saw that I was behaving like a good boy, he went back to his own house nearby. At last, I could have my sister all to myself. On the surface, things had gone back to normal, but it wasn't quite the same. From the bottom of my heart, I wish we could stay like this forever. Time flew by, and soon 6 months had passed since the incident. The two of us had gone back to our happy life together. By this point, I had learned how to handle my sister. I needed to get aggressive and take the initiative. A little salt to enhance the sweetness. A girl in my class confessed to me today.
Confessed what?
Her feelings for me. Asked me out, that kind of thing.
Oh. Huh. Cool. Wait. Is that why you were late leaving school today?
Yes, actually. She had asked to meet me after school. None of this was true.
Ooh, you just did it to make her jealous? That's cold.
No one would have dared to ask me out prior to my little incident, and that was doubly true now. But my sister didn't know this, so she took me at my word and frowned. Unlike you, she's very cute. Meek and quiet. The kind of girl that evokes a protective instinct. But I turned her down.
What? You did? How come?
This time, her voice went up an octave as her eyes widened. Silly girl. It's like with desserts. The more delicacies you consume, the more refined your palate becomes. Eventually, your standards will no longer be satisfied with the ordinary.
Okay.
After spending time with you, my standards have risen considerably.
Wait, so you turned her down because she doesn't measure up compared to me?
I almost laughed out loud at her arrogance, but the fact remained, she was right. So I rose to my feet, pinched her nose, and scowled.
Gah!
This is exactly why I called you a dumbass!
Gretel.
Her jewel eyes sparkled brighter and brighter. They say love is blind, but frankly, I was surprised my perfect sister was still naive enough to believe some guy's lies. I had long since realized that my sister's love for me was romantic. The way she looked at me, the way she behaved when I was around, all of it suggested that she was in love with me. It was clear from the way she overreacted to everything I said or did. And of course, I was sincerely delighted that she felt that way about me. None of the other girls could possibly hold a candle to her. Compared to my sister Sparkle, the other jewels were mere pebbles.
Oh, right, I forgot about that. In the, Hansel and Gretel tale. About there being jewels as well. Gosh. So the eyes are the... Okay, her eyes are the jewels. Interesting. Very interesting.
That said, I couldn't very well encourage her crush. The second I reciprocated, we would stop being brother and sister. As her brother, I maintained a tenuous connection to her Sparkle. And if I stopped being her brother, that connection would be severed. That being said, I couldn't let some other guy have her either. I didn't want her to be vulnerable around other men the way she was with me. The thought made me realize how relieved I was to have her romantic interest. I wanted her to stay in love with me forever. But the happy times were fleeting, like a phantom, and they swiftly came to an end. One day after school, I found my sister surrounded by human garbage, so I ran right over and put a stop to it. My sister had reached out and touched the maggot's face. She was so clueless. She had no idea that even her smallest actions would have a massive impact on these worthless subhuman creatures. But when it rains, it pours, as they say. And when we got home, my least favorite person, my brother, was waiting for us. He warned me not to overdose on candy, but I ignored him. Maybe he should have thought about that before he prescribed it to me.
Truth.
Why did these people infuriate me so?